When I was 13, my auntie and my cousin, they moved from Haiti to Flatbush, Brooklyn with us. Their green cards got approved. They showed up. They showed out. Shout out to them. Couple things you need to know about my cousin before I get into the story time. 1, she is 1 year younger than me. I was 13. She was 12. 2, she spoke no English. All she knew how to say was hello, goodbye, and then she knew all the lyrics to Lucky by Britney Spears. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me why. She came prepackaged with that information. That was already on her hard drive. Now, 3, we didn't go to the same school. She went to the public school because they had a really good ESL program. She went to Ditmas. I went to a Catholic school that was about 10 blocks away from her school. So we were pretty separate, but I still treated her like a Polly Pocket. I took her everywhere with me, okay? I had to prove to myself and to the world and to my family that there is a world where you can be a good, decent older cousin, sister, whatever, without beating up on people and abandoning them in the streets. Anyway, so one day we at the park. I took her with me. It's me and my homegirl. We hanging out. She on the swings, mind her business. All of a sudden, I hear her going off, cussing somebody clean out in Creole. I turn around and she out there arguing with a girl that looked just like her. Okay, they pointing at each other like the fucking Spider-Man meme, just like I forgot to mention something when I was listening to things earlier. My cousin's adopted, okay? We adopted her from the other side of the border. She looks very, very much so like an extremely fair-skinned Dominican woman. She looks very Dominicana. To this day, everywhere she goes, people stop her. People walk up to her. They speak Spanish. She understands nothing. She speaks no Spanish, okay? Okay. So the girl she's arguing with is genuinely a Dominican girl. Maybe Puerto Rican. I have no idea where she's from. Now, I walk over there and I'm like, hey, what's going on? What's up? Miss Mamas, you got a problem. She looks at me. She says, what do you need? And I said, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck it is that you want because you arguing with my cousin. She says, cousin. I said, yes, cousin. So she turns back around and she's still arguing with my cousin. And I was like, hey, ding dong. She don't speak English. Hello. So we have a little back and forth. And at that point in time, I got my cousin away from that. I squashed her like a little bug, did not fight her, just with my words. We can do it with our words. And from then on, it was on sight. She became my arch nemesis. She was like Mojo Jojo. I had so many run-ins with her, and every single time she would literally lock in on me and be like, I'm beating your ass. I had no idea why. Maybe she didn't like getting sunned in front of her friends. I don't give a good goddamn. Second encounter we had, my cousin, she would leave school and she would go to the library to use a computer after school. That's what a lot of kids did in the hood in the 2010s, in the early 2000s. Y'all know the vibe, okay? So I got home, the phone ring, I pick it up, it's my cousin. She's like, yo, Mindy, please, I need you to come to the library. Somebody trying to beat my ass. I said, oh shit, hold on. Put my Timbs on, leave. I pull up, I see Miss Mama's in the front. I pay her no mind. I go into the library. My cousin and her little ESL friend is sitting in a corner shivering in their Timbs. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? They explained to me that my cousin had reserved a computer. She was on it for 30 minutes that they allotted. And then she had got up and re-signed her name so she could go back around like a lot of the kids do. There was only one name in between her name and then her name again. She waited. Nobody pulled up for at least 5 minutes. She jumped back on the computer. All of a sudden she feel a tap on her shoulder. She look up, it's Miss Mamas. Miss Mamas said, you again? I'm beating your ass. Whoa, she's scared. She calls me, this is where I come in. I said, first of all, don't ever let a bitch catch you vibrating in your boots like that, bitch. What? You are my family. We don't play like that. So I am like, we're leaving. Like, girl, we're not hiding in the library. Let's go. Her little friend is like, please, can I come with y'all? Because I'm scared too. I said, say less. Let's go. We walk out there and I tell her straight up, I was like, yo, stop fucking with my cousin. Next time you do, you gonna have to see about me. And I'm not playing. Okay? And the thing is, it was her and like one little girl. And she knew to relax. She was yapping, but she ain't do nothing. And we left. And we left. And we left. So, my bad, y'all, my phone, y'all know, it be sliding, yeah. Anyway, so fast forward, I told y'all I went to a different school. My homegirl started dating this boy that went to public school. She gathered me and a bunch of my homegirls and she was like, yo, we finna meet with him and his friends at the library. It's gonna be a little 5-man. All right, let's go. We pull up. We get there and We there for a little bit. My homegirl, she step outside because she waiting for her man to pull up and comes back in and she look pissed. Face red. She a little light-skinned girl. Face red. We're like, what the fuck? She's like, yo, his ex is here. And I don't, she know me for some reason. I don't know how the fuck she know me, but she said she's gonna beat my ass. And I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. Girls, 5 of us. We got her. She was like, exactly. Just letting y'all know. I said, okay. Girl walks in, beelines straight to my friend so she could, I guess, give her some more words. Who the fuck knows? And it's Miss Mama's. And she looks right at me and she says, you. And I said, oh, here we go. Here we go, brother. So, she walks away. I have a little chit chat with me and my friends. And I'm like, hey, just letting y'all know, if she was going to lightly tap our asses earlier, now it's going to be a full-blown pummel because she hates me. Yeah, she hates me. I know, it's crazy. Mojo Jojo activated. Again, we were still like, it's cool though. We're going to wait on the boys. When the boys pull up, they going to be our backup. Boys pull up. Her man come to us and he's like, yo, I'm going to keep it straight with y'all. Y'all going to get y'all ass beat. And we were like, what are you talking about? Go outside. It's 20 motherfuckers out there. She called in reinforcements. It's 20 bitches out there. And then it's like 10 to 15 little boys who just wanted to be there to see what the fuck was going down. Wasn't a good situation. So I had a choice to make. And what choice did I make? If you've been here long enough, you know I snitched. I went straight to the librarian and I told her, hey, I don't know if it's because they don't like Catholics. I don't know if they have something against school uniforms. I have no idea. But there is a rough and tumble group outside and they're threatening to beat our asses. So can you handle that? So she literally goes, she gets a security guard. Security guard, mind you, is probably 18. To us, he was still a grown man, but still 18. And he was a dude that grew up in the neighborhood. So he's like, all right, hold on. Goes outside, comes back in. He's like, listen, all I can do for you is disperse them real quick. But as soon as y'all are off this block, y'all not my problem no more. I'm gonna let y'all know straight up though, them bitches is activated. Make sure y'all lace up them shoes and y'all strap them backpacks up tight. And as soon as y'all get to that corner, run. 10 out of 10 advice. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 advice. Shout out to him. You know what I mean? He did his best. We were not his responsibility. I get it. So what do? When we get out there, we hit that corner, we go running. Turn back. Never look back when you're running. Look back while we running, and all 20 of these bitches Naruto running towards us. Okay? Naruto running towards us. Edges flapping in the wind. Giving them extra lift. Oh my God. I have never been that scared in my life. That's a lie. At that point in time, I had never been that scared in my motherfucking life. Okay? We are getting it. Y'all, the library on Cortelyou. We ran from Cortelyou to Ocean and Foster. Anybody from New York, you know, that is a fair distance. That is at least 10, maybe 13 blocks. And we was weaving in and out them blocks, thinking that we was going to miss them. I promise you, these hoes was splitting up. It was like synchronized swimming in the hood. It was insane. It was insanity. We ran so far until we got to one of my friend's older brother's spot. It was a trap house. We all ran into trap house. Saved us though. Shout out to Pookie and them. Now, a couple years later, not even a couple, few years later, I'm out of high school. I'm in college. Now I was out of college. I started dating this boy that grew up in the same neighborhood as me. All right. And we had a little problem because he was talking about this ex of his that was always, you know, on his dick, just doing the most. Shows me a picture of her and I was like, shut the fuck up. And I said, yo, did she go to Ditmas? And he was like, yeah, I did too. We went together. We actually started dating in middle school then. And I said, hold on. Pulls out the yearbook, shows me her picture. I said, that's that bitch. That's crazy as fuck. And she's still on your body? Wow. I fucked him. I sure did. Because I need y'all to understand. The way this bitch was still Mojo Jojo after that, I would literally be walking down the block and she would be on the bus with her friends and they would literally throw shit at us and drive by and be like, yuck, fucking bitch, just doing the most. Imagine getting bullied in the neighborhood, outside, in front of random people, by a moving vehicle, mind you.
when I was in middle school, I had a best friend for life. We was like this. One day she asked my Facebook password and email. So I'm not thinking none of it. I'm thinking she trying to see if somebody blocked her or if, whatever, if he online or whatever. So I'm not thinking none of it. I give her my email and my Facebook. So she never said nothing else about it. So I assumed that she got the information that she needed and I didn't, think twice about it. So one day I'm at school. It's probably like 3-4 weeks later after, me giving her my Facebook password. And more people are speaking to me. But the only way they can speak to me is a dismissal. Because I ain't gonna lie, like, now that I'm thinking about it, like, the females at my school was feral. Like, they did their best to separate the girls and the guys. So I was in an all-girls class. That we had all boys classes. Then we had some mixed classes. So the only time you could speak to somebody in a higher grade than you was when dismissal time. And even then, they tried their best to keep the grades separated. The grades and the genders separated. So dismissal time come. And, like, it's some 8th grade boys speaking to me. And I'm like, I don't even know them. But I guess everybody wants to be friendly or something. So, yeah, my friend texted me after school and she was like, hey, you want to go to a football game tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, sure, whatever. So we get to the football game and it's 8th graders coming up to me. And at this time, like, the younger grades knew that the older grades did not play about their mans in the same grade. So the 8th graders with the 8th graders, like couples and stuff. So the 8th graders coming to speak to me, and I'm like, what is really going on? I'm like, my friend is really popular. Like, I'm not thinking it's me. I'm thinking it's her because she's actually having the conversation with them when they come up, and speaking with her. And she, like, flirting and stuff. And I'm like, oh, snap. Okay, girl. So one day, my teacher sends me to the 8th grade hall. Now, in this time, like I said, the females were feral, so the teacher had to send a trustworthy student to go to the 8th grade hall, especially if they was in a lower grade. So my teacher give me this note, and she said, go to Miss So-and-so class and come back. Like, give her the note and come back. So, okay, boom. So she give me the note. I go to the 8th grade hall, and I get stopped by the janitor. And he like, what's up, Jada? I'm like, hey, like, do I know you? And he like, oh, you don't know me now. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? What are you talking about? So he like, you ain't messaged me back, this and that. And I'm not thinking of never, because this was more than a month ago now. So I'm not thinking I gave her my Facebook password and whatever. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know what you talking about, but I gotta, go run and do something. And he looked genuinely mad. So, and mind you, the only place I've ever seen him was cleaning the halls, like around dismissal time, because that's when the janitors would come in, not during. Well, sometimes I feel like he was probably there during the school time. But anyway, he seemed genuinely upset. So I'm at my friend's house, my best friend for life house, and her phone ding dinging. And I'm like, girl, who texting you? And she like, it's we're gonna give a fake name. It's Ricky. I can't use his real name because he dead now, R.I.P. But so she like, it's Ricky, and I'm like, don't he date Camille? And she like, yeah, but we've been texting and, like, we've been talking, and he talking about he gonna break up with her and this and that, we gonna be together. I'm like, a 6th grade dating an 8th grader, that's gonna be some big. Like, y'all just had to understand the school we was in to understand. But a lot of girls had a crush on Ricky, like a lot of girls. So and I ain't gonna lie, he was cute. So anyway, she like, yeah, we supposed to meet up, this and that. Well, anyway, one day I logged in my Facebook. Mind you, I'm logged in Facebook, but I'm not on Facebook. Like, I only joined because my sister had an account and she made it seem fun, and she was always on Facebook. But when I got on there, it was just people telling how they felt. And to be honest, and I would only be on Facebook if, like, I would check and one of, like, my crushes or something was doing a to be honest and not liking and see what they, what he got to say about me. Other than that, I went on it. Well, one day, out of curiosity, I go on my Facebook, and I got like maybe 2-3 new messages or something like that. And I go check it, and while I'm checking it, I see my whole middle school in there of guys. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, I'm like, oh my God. So I'm clicking on the messages. I'm like, let me read what I've been saying to these people. Mind you, it's her the whole time. It's her the whole time. And she's sexting them. She's sexting them. And guess what? I find the janitor. And the janitor sent me money. The janitor sent me money, and oh my God, he sent me $50. And it's in 6th grade. That was big money at the time, I feel like. But yeah, and I'm like, that's why he was upset. Like, what the world? So I'm coming to find out like all of this stuff, and it's not me. And I'm like, so one day I confronted her. I'm like, girl, what was you thinking? Like, why would you use me and make them think it's me? So now when they see me, they think it's me. And she was like, I was gonna tell them eventually. Like, if you read the messages, like, you would have saw that I always mentioned myself. Like, what do you think about my friend? Whatever, I ain't gonna say her name. What do you think about my friend? This and that. She got a little crush on you. Like, I was getting to it, hinting it. And I'm like, oh girl, we gotta stop being friends. And that was my first friendship breakup for real, cause it hurt me so bad. But that girl was in there doing everything, and I just, like, when the people come up to me at school past then, I'm just like, I didn't even tell them it was her. I never been a snitch, but I was just like, you know, like, what's up, like, whatever. Like, I didn't even, you know, think none of it. Years later, I see her mama and her in Dollar Tree in Memphis on Winchester. And I'm like, I saw her, and I'm like, it's just this awkward, like, look between us. And her mama never knew why we stopped talking, or we stopped being best friends just out of nowhere completely. So she was like, Jada, she was like, oh, how you doing? Like, how you doing? And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, I'm good. And I don't know what she told her mama, but, you know, like, her mama wasn't mean to me, but her mama also, like, gave me a little look or whatever. And I ain't thinking of it. Anyway, I did tell the janitor that it wasn't me. I did tell the janitor because he sent me money, and I wasn't finna be in that. But come after a while, this Camille, she messaged me, and she like, you talking to my man? And I'm like, no. She was like, I saw the messages. Like, I went through his phone, and you in there talking about what y'all gonna do and this and that. And I was like, it's not me. Like, Camille, like I told y'all in the last video, I was always bigger than my classmates. Like, bigger than my classmates. At 6th grade, I was at 8th grade height. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you really don't want to pick this fight with me. I keep telling you it's not me. Like, just believe me. So she left it alone or whatever. But she did start a rumor about me, which I can understand because the way everything looked and everything. But oh well. Anyway, yeah, me and the girl not friends to this day, but she still, like, you know, like my stuff on Facebook and stuff, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But more of the story is, do not give your friends your password to your stuff. You never know what they doing. And then if they ask you, just check yourself. Be like, oh, I just need to see if so-and-so blocked me. Just go check it. Just do it yourself. Don't get them your stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna need you guys to lock in. Today's story, very, in capital letters, VERY, very graphic, very disturbing, very gruesome. Believe me when I say it's bad, and believe me when I say that if you have a weak stomach, you should skip this video. On September 20th in 2015 at 3:39 in the morning, authorities in Sunrise, Florida received a frantic 911 call. The caller was a man, and he was losing his mind, screaming, crying into the phone, saying that his girlfriend was having trouble breathing and that she needed help immediately. The dispatcher could hardly understand what he was saying, but it was clear that he was in a panic. He was worried that his girlfriend wasn't going to make it. He kept saying that he didn't know what happened, saying, "Come on, please, baby, please, come on, please." Police officers and paramedics were dispatched to the apartment complex. When they arrived, they walked into the apartment, which was pretty dark. The air felt thick. They didn't know what they were walking into. But not even in their worst nightmares could they have imagined just how gruesome and disturbing the crime scene would be. Red everywhere, on the walls, on the doors, on the floors, but it was textured almost. It looked like there were little pieces of something else mixed in it, and there were also pieces of that texture scattered around the apartment building, leaving behind a trail leading into the bathroom. They also immediately noticed that some of the doors looked like they had been ripped off the hinges. Those little pieces were pieces of human tissue, and inside of that bathroom were two people, a man on the floor crying, and in his arms the body of a deceased woman. 34-year-old Maria Nemeth was born in Peru. When she was a teenager, she moved to Miami, which is when she learned how to speak English. She was a very happy, outdoorsy, friendly kind of person, and her favorite thing in the world was taking pictures. Something about being able to capture a moment and freeze it in time was amusing to her. By 2014, she was in her 30s now, living in Florida, working at an apartment complex, and single, but ready to mingle. Maria was cautious about dating, not only because she was in her 30s now looking for a serious relationship, but also because she had previously been in an 8-year-long marriage. She got married when she was only 22 years old, but fast forward 8 years, she decided it wasn't what she wanted anymore, so they got a divorce and went their separate ways. One night, when she was out with her friends, Maria ran into and met a guy that caught her eye, 24-year-old Fidel Lopez. A little bit younger than her, but very, very handsome in her eyes. Like her, Fidel wasn't from the States. He was born in Cuba, and he moved to the US with his father when he was 16 years old. The more the two of them chatted, the more they realized that they had in common. Fidel had also been previously married, now divorced, but the two of them had 2 kids together. He actually still lived with his ex-wife and their 2 kids. So they meet, they're talking, they're vibing, they hit it off, they start dating. Maria then ends up moving in with Fidel, his ex-wife, and their kids. Could literally never be me, but it worked for them somehow. However, obviously that was not the ideal living situation. So about a year into their relationship, Maria and Fidel get their own place. They start renting an apartment in the apartment complex where Maria worked, but only a week after they moved in, that 911 call would be made by Fidel himself. Once officers were inside of the apartment, inside of that bathroom, looking straight at him, who was in tears, completely out of it, sitting on the floor, holding Maria in his arms, they knew as soon as they saw her that it was too late. She was gone. And at 4:02 in the morning, Maria Nemeth was pronounced deceased at the scene. And because of the state the apartment was in, it wasn't even a question to authorities that something terrible had happened and that more than likely Fidel was the one responsible. He was arrested and taken to the station to be questioned. It was around 7:30 in the morning now, and he was surprisingly willing to talk about what happened the night prior, kind of. So let's talk through the events of September 19th and what Fidel said happened. After work that day, him and Maria cooked dinner. They then headed over to Fidel's mom's house. They were there for a little bit. Afterwards, they went to Chili's, hung out there before returning back to their apartment. They had just moved in, so there were still boxes everywhere. They didn't really have any furniture, but they were in the mood to celebrate, so they grabbed a beverage that you have to be 21 years old to have, and they had a lot of them. Music was playing, they were having fun, all was good until they got into a really heated argument. After that, they start kissing, smooching, but they're still kind of angry, so they're being pretty aggressive. Fidel's being pretty controlling, pretty rough, and they engage in intimate activity. They do the deed, and afterwards, Fidel tells authorities that Maria got sick, so she went to the bathroom and he stepped outside on the balcony. And he said that when he came back inside, Maria was having trouble breathing. So, a lot of gaps and inconsistencies in his story, because what do you mean she was totally fine? You were doing whatever, you stepped outside, you came back in, you found her deceased. That doesn't just happen. The two officers talking to Fidel are trying out different strategies. They're playing good cop, bad cop. They're trying to be patient and understanding, saying, we know you're not a bad guy. We know you didn't mean to do this. Something just went wrong. And you need to tell us what it was. And he just keeps saying, I don't know, I wouldn't hurt her. And I can assume that this went on for hours, and they're trying to tell him, dude, look, something happened. You did something awful to her. She's gone. You're going to jail, but if you tell us what happened, you might be able to get a lesser sentence for being cooperative, and you'll look like a human being who lost his temper, because Fidel did let them know that he had anger issues. He was one to lose his temper and start punching walls and flipping furniture around when he got angry. So they tell him, we need a why. We need an explanation as to what made you so angry that made you capable of hurting another human being to that degree. And they say, if you don't give us a why, if you don't give us a motive, then you are going going to be looked at as an animal, because the things that you did to her, to your girlfriend, the person that you claim to love, were animalistic. They were that bad. I mean, the crime scene literally looked as if a vicious wild animal went in there and destroyed the entire place. Some of the neighbors said that even though it was the middle of the night, they thought that there was construction going on above them because the noises were that loud. But Fidel was not willing to tell them anything. He said that he was being cooperative with police, but that he just could not remember. But they were not going to let him go, because while he was being questioned, another group of law enforcement officials were at the crime scene investigating it, gathering evidence, and the picture that the crime scene painted of what could have happened was brutal. The officers that were talking to him got pictures of the crime scene eventually, and they showed those to Fidel as another attempt to try and get him to talk. They also later got autopsy results back. And if you're eating, this might be a good time to stop, because the things that Fidel did to Maria are truly unspeakable. Maria had blunt force trauma to her head, bruises covering her entire body, and a lot of defensive wounds that showed that she put up a fight. While they were engaging in intimate activities, at some point, Fidel grabbed foreign objects and inserted them in places, both front and back. Specifically, a glass bottle, as well as a hair straightener, and his arm all the way up to his elbow. Maria had injuries similar to injuries that women sustain during childbirth. She had a 3.5-inch wound from her front to her back. And remember the chunks of human tissue that we mentioned earlier in the video that were scattered around the apartment? Those were parts of her organs. She had missing pieces of her insides that were ripped out. One of the pieces found in a different part of the apartment was 13 inches long. Maria had a total of 60 inches of her insides that had been removed from both her front and back ends. Those were the injuries that officers were describing to Fidel, and he was still able to sit there in front of them, look them in the eye, and say, "I didn't do anything wrong. I only did what she asked me to do." They tell him, "She did not ask you to do that. She would not have been able to talk or walk or move from the pain that she would have been in." Eventually, after hours and a million different stories, Fidel finally confessed, and he told them what really happened. Fidel told them that while they were being intimate, Maria called him by her ex-husband's name twice. And when she did, he saw red. He flew into a rage and started destroying the apartment, breaking glass doors, ripping the doors off the hinges, putting holes in the wall. He said, quote, "She changed my name. She called me the name of the other guy, and she said it twice, and she was wrong, and she was confusing me with him. At that point, I got mad. I got really, really mad," end quote. After trashing the apartment, he returned to Maria and, quote, "became a monster," end quote. He inserted those objects, and using his arm, he pulled out her insides. He said, quote, "I wasn't thinking, man. I wasn't thinking," end quote. At 1:36 p.m., 10 hours after that 911 call was first made, Fidel was finally arrested and charged with Maria's death. And do you want to know another part of this story that makes me sick and that I cannot comprehend? His family, after learning what happened, stood by him and supported him through the entire thing, the entire trial. They said, quote, "We're praying for you, honey. You have your entire family praying." Fidel originally pled not guilty. His lawyers were trying to get his confession not able to be used in court under the most ridiculous excuse that I've ever heard in my life of him not being able to understand the English language when he was literally speaking English the entire time he confessed. But then in 2017, to avoid getting the death penalty, he changed his plea to guilty, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And in the courtroom, he said something to Maria's family. He said, quote, "Today I am happy to fulfill this conviction. I know that what I did has to be paid, and I agree. I will pay with my life for the life that I took. To Maria's family, I ask for forgiveness." Maria's family was absolutely heartbroken and devastated, of course. Her cousin said, quote, "I still cannot. I can't process it. Maria was very responsible. It's very hard to understand why she got involved with a person who has these kind of thoughts." Her cousin also described Maria to be a beautiful young woman who was full of life and very close to her family. This is a quote from Maria's father as well. He said, quote, "If I had to summarize the life of Maria, it would be very difficult to express it in a few lines. I just want to tell you all that she was and will continue to be a model of affection, effort, perseverance, and love of humanity," end quote.
Am I in the wrong for calling out someone else's family member at a children's birthday party? I, 31 female, had my child's 3rd birthday party. The party ended up being hosted at my partner's 27 male grandmother's house. It was mostly his family and a few of their close friends in attendance. About 20 people give or take total, plus their kids. For context, the men in his family were very spoiled growing up, and now as adults, they often say whatever they want with no filter. Everyone just tolerates it. At one point, me, my partner, his cousins, all mid-20s to early 30s, and their girlfriends were in another room playing blackjack before everyone was ready to sing happy birthday. One cousin, let's call him Jay, was dealing while his wife made small talk about something her kid did that annoyed her. Out of left field, he made a snide comment, well, maybe if you weren't so incompetent and stupid, that wouldn't have happened. His wife went quiet and just looked down. Nobody said anything. The guys laughed it off. I sat there waiting for someone to step in, but nobody did. I've heard him do this many times at other occasions, but unfortunately, I was either too far from the situation or occupied. But this time, I had no excuse, so I finally said something. I'm like, you have a little girl. You'd lose your shit if someone spoke to her like that. You're her example of how she should expect to be treated, so treat your wife the same way. So either apologize right now or get out and let your wife meet you back at home. Long story short, he apologized. So I'm like, awesome. It's a shame I had to be the one to say it and not the literal men around me. Live with that shame, by the way. Anyway, back to the game. The women were smiling after that, but the vibe with the men did a 180. Later that night, everyone left and we were winding down for bed. My partner told me that a lot of his family, because word got around, was mad at me. Apparently, they thought that I was rude, insulting, and that a kid's birthday party wasn't the time or place for that. Everyone just wanted to have fun. I won't get into how the conversation ended, but I'm wondering, was it my place? Was it the time? Am I in the wrong for ruining everyone's fun?